What's up, guys? My name is Honthy. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another What I Watched This Month, August edition. So I start off the month on the 1st with A Prayer Before Dawn. I got really nothing much to say about this movie. I only watched it because it was produced by A24, and it's a good time if you really enjoy those movies, but other than that, it's just kind of underwhelming. On the 3rd, I watched Tread. This is a true story about some guy who gets pushed to the edge and just basically bulldozes a town. And it's on Netflix, and I highly recommend it if you do not know about what I'm talking about. And I thought it was a great documentary. On the 3rd, I watched Hardcore Henry. This is a first-person point of view movie. I was so bored during this movie that I continuously went on my phone hoping for someone to contact me. The moments I did watch this movie, my head hurt from getting so nauseous, but not from the camera movement, but from the shitty plot. I urge everyone not to watch this crap. On the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th, I watched the Dark Knight Trilogy. There's nothing much to say. I only watched this again because I wanted my girlfriend to watch it, and just rewatching it is so good. You should just go out there and watch it again if you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? On the 4th too, I rewatched Avengers Endgame, and I still cried. On the 6th, I watched An American Pickle, and I would say this was disappointing to say the least, because this decides not to give you answers for almost everything it throws at you. And there's multiple times in this movie where it goes from showing you something really serious and then it just ends with like a stupid joke. I probably won't see it again. It's okay. That's all it is. On the 7th, I watched the Speedcubers. Why did this make me cry? On the 9th, I watched Caddyshack. This was underwhelming for me. I did not enjoy it, and I don't know why everyone hypes it up. The same night, I watched Brothers. I really enjoyed this. This hit home a little too hard for me in some parts where I started to get anxiety. I thought the acting was so freaking good in this, and I highly recommend it. On the 11th, I rewatched Inception for the second time. So I haven't seen this movie since I was like 15, and holy crap, what have I been doing? I just did not understand it back then because I felt like I was watching a completely different movie. You should know by now, if you've seen it, how good this movie is, and if you haven't seen it, you've definitely heard about it. On the 12th, I watched Heart of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse. This movie is about Francis Ford Coppola and the making of Apocalypse Now, and it is crazy the shit he went through. I've gained two things from this. One, this makes me appreciate filmmaking to an entire new level, and two, Marlon Brando is a freaking asshole. On the 13th, I watched Krisha. It's about an aunt who comes back to see their family during Thanksgiving after many years of just spending time by herself. Throughout the film, you find out she's an addict and all this stuff, and I really liked this movie. It kind of had me disappointed in the beginning, but I'm not kidding when I say those last 15 minutes absolutely floored me. I recommend it. It's an A24 film, and it's on Netflix. I look forward to more of Schultz's films in the future. On the 14th, I watched Project Power. This is the new Netflix movie where you take a pill and you get a superpower, basically. You don't know what your superpower is. This was exactly how I expected it to be, and I'm kind of upset by that. Just by the opening scene, I knew this was just gonna be an okay film. It had potential to be super freaking cool, and don't get me wrong, there are some very cool scenes in this, but it was just average. I'm glad to see that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is back because I really missed him. I think he's a great actor, and I'm glad to see Casey Neistat getting his cameo, but other than that, I don't think I'll rewatch this. It could have been better. On the 15th and the 16th, I watched the Before trilogy with my girlfriend, and holy shit, this is one of the best trilogies I've ever seen. This is a powerhouse when it comes to romance movies or dramas or even just writing in general. These three movies are just a handful of conversations between them. It's amazing how invested you get into their relationship. The first movie is incredibly subtle with how real they show those first moments of love. I believe their story. I rooted for them. I've been them. Falling for someone that quick is so real and passionate and makes you think about all the times it could have happened to you. And at the end of that film, it left me appreciating all that I've had and all that I have and all that I will have. And Before Sunset is like the dark night of this trilogy. I think it's the peak film. Just to see them get together after 9 years of seeing each other in Before Sunrise was just amazing. Just like the chemistry was still there and the conversations were even better, and that ending left me crying because I was just rooting for them like I was in the first one. I want the happy ending. And the third film is a look into their marriage and how far they've come, and it's kind of sad because it's kind of like a marriage story, but instead of them getting divorced, they're still together, but they're still having those fights, and it really hit home for me. I thought this was a perfect trilogy, honestly. I know that's saying a lot because my scores don't all have 5s, but it truly is a great trilogy. It's such a great look into a relationship, and I highly recommend it if you have not seen it. The first 2 are on HBO Max. The other one I had to get on demand, but it's cheap. On the 16th, I watched Lance. Now, Lance was just a 30 for 30 2-part documentary. It was a great look inside what happened back when he was doping, his career, and what he's doing now. On the 17th, I watched Collateral. My friend Lewis recommended me this. So far, I've really enjoyed every Michael Mann film that I've seen, so I think I'm going to binge them all soon and I'll rank them. In this one, seeing Tom Cruise as a villain was just so much fun. It drags a bit here and there, but at the end of the day, it's just a fun action thriller. On the 18th, I watched Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I can't believe how lucky I am that I just found this movie. I was just happily scrolling through Instagram when I watched a scene of Philip Seymour Hoffman yelling at Ethan Hawke, and I just had the urge to see the full-length movie because of how great that scene was. This movie is about 2 brothers who want to rob their own parents' jewelry store and what happens after it goes horribly wrong. It's a great movie. I loved it. Sidney Lumet deserves more recognition, and that's saying a lot when he's made films such as 12 Angry Men and Dog Day Afternoon. It's crazy that a director of his caliber isn't mentioned enough. I was subtly blown away by this film. This is a perfect modern noir film. It is bleak and disturbing. The performances by Hoffman and Hawke are honestly the best that I have seen out of both of them. It just baffles me that no one talks about this film. It's told in a mismatched way like Pulp Fiction, and it's done beautifully. I had a great time watching this. I highly recommend it. It's highly underrated, and I think it's the perfect hidden gem. It's on HBO Max now if you want to watch it. On the same night, I watched Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Now, going into this, I was really excited. I thought this was gonna be like Scott Pilgrim basically, but more of a love story, but all I got was just a basic romantic comedy. The same night, I watched Safety Not Guaranteed. I got lucky again. This was such a happy surprise. It's rare that I just go on Netflix and actually pick a new movie that's not on my watch list, but I am so glad I did. This movie is based off a true story about a guy who put an ad in the newspaper asking someone to go back in time with him. And what the movie does, I thought, was just very wholesome, and it was just fun to watch. It throws you off by making you think you're just learning about someone who's crazy, but spoiler alert, to find out in the end that he was right the entire time just made this movie 10 times better for me. This film benefits from the cast and the chemistry. It's funny, it's dramatic when needed, it's fast-paced, and the writing is great. I just get excited just thinking about it and talking about it. It's on Netflix if you want to go give it a watch yourself. On the 20th, I watched Blue Ruin. I think this movie fell flat for me because my dad hyped it up to be something amazing, but in the end, for me, it was just mediocre. This could have been so much better in my opinion, but it wasn't. On the 23rd, I rewatched Shrek 2. If you haven't seen this, I don't know what you're doing with your life. On the 24th, I watched Serpico for the first time. It's a good movie altogether, but there's some parts that really threw me off. Some of the editing's a little janky to me, but that's because it's an old film. On the 25th, I watched Spree. I thought this was strangely refreshing. Spree isn't original in any way, but it does its job at showing how desensitized we all are because of social media. I may be giving this a little bit too much praise, but it is just a good time. On the 26th, I watched Coherence. Excuse my French, fucking love this movie. This is about 8 friends who get together for a dinner party while a comet is passing over Earth the same night, and it just follows the strange events that happen to them during that whole night. I can't put together how many moments from this that I got chills and started biting my nails. This is so anxiety inducing, and still after watching the entire thing, I don't know what to believe in life. I really don't. And you'll understand if you watch this movie because I don't want to spoil it any further. This reminded me a lot of the Twilight Zone episode, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, but way more crazy and modern. I wish this had more praise and a bigger audience because it deserves it. I felt like I was watching something completely new. I'm completely mind-fucked right now, but at the end of it, it left me hopeful and it left me inspired. On the 28th, I watched Get Duked. This was so weird and stupid, but it's a fun time. On the 30th, I watched Class Action Park. This is a great inside look into one of my favorite New Jersey legends. Pisses me off that at the end of this documentary, they say Mountain Creek is just a generic water park because it really is still Action Park. They still have horribly graveled pathways. The water is extremely cold still, and some of the rides are still the same way, including the Colorado Rapids ride. It still hurts. It still sucks. They're just better at letting people go down. But yeah, this is a great inside look to that park and what happened back in those days. And if you don't know anything about it, if you're not even from New Jersey, I highly recommend that you watch this and get an inside look at one of the craziest water parks of all time. The same night, I watched Clash of the Titans. What a movie. What a movie. Clash of the Titans. Out of all the movies I watched this month, I'm gonna say the most about this movie. Clash of the Titans is like Transformers mixed with Game of Thrones. It is like Harry Potter mixed with Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like Fast and the Furious mixed with Lord of the Rings. But the difference between those movies and this is that those are fun. The entire time watching this, I felt as if I was just experiencing a Universal theme park ride due to the amount of sets that had fire roaming in the background and smoke just automatically steaming out of the ground. And that's coming from a movie that's mainly CGI. I knew what I was going to get before I watched this. I pushed it back so long because of the bad reviews I've read over the years, but here I am watching it because deep down, I just love Greek mythology and it was late at night and I just wanted to watch a fucking good movie. But that's not what I got. They could truly make an amazing movie franchise off of Greek history. With the right writers, the right production, and the perfect cast, there could be something great with Greek history. This failed because it relies on us to know the story, so we get no character development. It's almost like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, if you know those games, and Odyssey is basically an entire Greek mythology world. It's so big that you fail to understand everything that is going on. It fails because it believes it needs CGI instead of practical effects. It fails because of the heavy light flares. It fails because it's just too rushed. People need to be retold these stories, and I am a true believer that one day we can get an amazing movie out of these stories. But until then, we're stuck with this garbage. On the 31st, I ended off my month with Coherence again because I needed to show my girlfriend and her cousin to let them see what it did to me. And I'm glad to say they're just as fucked up as me now. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you guys on the flip side.